My name is Lama Tantrapa, and today I want to share with you a story about my experience with overcoming chronic pain. Of course, in the beginning, it wasn't chronic. It was an acute pain that happened as a result of a major car accident. I don't know if you've ever heard of rollover car accidents. Well, that's what happened to me when I was driving. Mind you, I was a passenger. But my student was driving the car back in Ukraine in the middle of winter. And mind you, it was in the middle of it was in the middle of the night. So it was really dark, really slippery. The road was covered with black ice. And in addition to that, there was a thick fog providing only minimal visibility. So, sure enough, my student did not maintain, he lost control of the car and careened off the road. Because the road was an elevated highway, lifted about 6 feet above the fields around it. The car flew through the air and also turned around. So the point of impact actually happened at the very back of the car. And since I was sitting in the back seat, I only could think of grabbing the seat in front of me and duck. And that's a good thing, because when the back of the car hit the ground, it actually dislodged the lid of the trunk. It was a sedan. Slid inside of the passenger compartment of the car, obviously breaking the window behind me, and only stopped when it hit the headrests of the front seats. Now, luckily enough, I put my head down just enough for the lid to not decapitate me. But sure enough, I had sustained a substantial neck injury, and that wasn't all. That same night, that wasn't all. We managed somehow to get that car started, because we knew we would have frozen to death sitting in the broken down car in the middle of winter, in the middle of the night, in the middle of nowhere, literally 300 miles away from our town. So we had to do something about it, and we basically pushed the car back on that elevated highway and pushed it till it started working. The engine actually worked, the battery worked, the alternator worked. The only thing that didn't work and got broken to pieces is the radiator. And the radiator was billowing clouds of smoke and steam as we started driving down the road without any windows, without any windshield. We just simply kept on going because that was the matter of survival. And obviously something was not working properly. Obviously the driver of the car wasn't feeling well enough because he lost control of the car again. And we flew off of the elevator we flew off of the elevated highway one more time and had the side-to-side rollover accident again. So what happened? We managed to put the car back together and push it back on the elevated highway and managed to stop a semi-truck that was passing by, who actually gave us a tow. And as we were being towed, we were sitting in the car because it needed to be driven, steered, and the engine worked. My student tried to crank the engine, and it was like a miracle. The engine actually worked. The battery didn't work. The alternator wasn't functioning properly, but the engine actually somehow worked. And so after being towed for maybe 15-20 minutes, we actually asked the driver of the semi-truck to let us go on our own. And we drove that damn car, completely destroyed by then, back into town, all the way 250, 300 miles into town. But both of us sustained substantial neck injuries. Nothing else was broken. We were just, we got away with just a few uh, bruises and scratches on our bodies. But sure enough, my neck was not happy. It was a whiplash that I sustained as a result of the two car accidents in one night. And I had no idea how to handle it. There were doctors in Ukraine who I could see for pain, but the only thing they could do is prescribe pain medications, painkillers. I also could see a chiropractor, even though there were just a handful of chiropractors in the entire country. But I found one in nearby, and he saw me, but he couldn't really offer me that much, except for just put my neck bones back together. The reason why I'm saying that he couldn't do much because the muscles were still in spasm, and working with soft tissues and connective tissues is outside the scope of chiropractic practice. So he basically couldn't help me as much as was necessary in order to relieve my chronic pain. And when the bones are put back together in alignment, they are not going to stay if the muscles are still really tense. So you have to go back to see the chiropractor again and again and again. It's great for chiropractor business, but it's not great for you because essentially you are not getting the root cause treated. You are just simply being put together like that Humpty Dumpty. And of course, nobody can put Humpty Dumpty together because something else needs to be addressed. There is a root cause that needs to be taken care of. And the root cause was the perception of the body that something was still dangerous. I still needed to brace for impact. It actually became a chronic state, a condition in my case. And I don't know if you've ever experienced a car accident like that or any other injury or trauma that caused you any type of chronic pain. But if you're still watching this video, you probably have experienced some and want to learn how to overcome this pain and eventually let it go for good. And that's exactly what I would like to offer to you in this video and the forthcoming program that I'm going to offer to you. In this video, we are going to look at 4 main principles that I learned that helped me heal myself. And also, I hope that they will help you. And of course, as you learn how to apply these principles of self-healing, you will learn how to choose which one of them to apply to healing your own pain and suffering. First of all, before I go into explaining these principles, I have to tell you that I've worked with thousands of people over the course of the last 20 plus years since I moved to the United States from Ukraine. I operated Portland Qigong Clinic, one of the few Qigong clinics in the United States specializing in energy healing. And today, we are not only going to work energetically, we're also going to look at some other more substantial, more tangible parts of the body that we can work with in order to overcome chronic pain. In addition to physical body, we also need to look at our consciousness because your mind has just as much to do with pain as your physical body does. We'll look at the mind-body connection and understand that the muscles, when they hold chronic tension, are not stupid. They're not trying to hurt you. Your body is not holding tension for no good reason. It's actually receiving signals from the central nervous system that sends the signals to contract to the muscles that are being held tension. The central nervous system needs to become less agitated. It actually needs to recognize that those unconscious signals of contraction are unnecessary because you no longer are in that kind of danger that required bracing yourself. And you don't have to compensate for the tension anymore if you address the tension and pain so that you don't actually need to hold any chronic tension any longer. As you learn how to bring the mind and body into alignment, we will go even deeper. If you stick with me till the end of this video, you will discover for yourself that the psychological component of chronic pain actually has deeper roots because they go all the way down to your sense of identity, who you think you are. And if you don't change your sense of identity and stick with the old one, believing that who you are is what you used to be, obviously your experiences will also stay the same. You will only experience the change in your experience. You will only experience the significant transformation of your experiences if you tap into additional energy resources or discover new ways of being for yourself. When you discover new ways of being, you will experience a shift not only in your mental states but also in your physical states, because mind and body are not two separate entities. It's one and the same organism. What keeps that organism together, what keeps the mind and body integrated into one organism, is energy, the life force, or chi, if you will. And we'll work with energy as well because it's an important and a crucial component of our healing methodology. That's right, I developed a whole healing methodology that's dedicated to healing your pain body. The pain body is actually a term that was coined initially by Eckhart Tolle, a well-known author of best-selling books like A New Earth and The Power of Now. Unfortunately, in his books, Eckhart did not really expand upon his understanding of pain body or what it was or how to heal it. He just simply said, you need to be present, and the more present you are, the less you allow this pain body to rear its ugly head and hurt you. Well, there is much more to pain body healing than this. So as a matter of fact, I picked up right where Eckhart left off and developed a much deeper understanding of what pain body is and how to work with it, also integrating it with the modality of Qigong practice called Qidao. I am a lineage holder of Qidao. I've been practicing Qidao since I was a kid, 6 years of age or so. So for over 40 years, I've been practicing this energy art, also known as Tibetan shamanic Qigong. And integrating it with understanding of the pain body allowed me to develop the modality called pain body healing. And in order to heal the pain body, you need to understand what it is. So, what the heck is the pain body? Let's take a look at Eckhart Tolle's understanding of it first. And with all due respect to Eckhart, whom I met, and I also interviewed him, and I met him and his wife at one of his workshops. I met Eckhart, whom I met in Hawaii at one of his workshops. I also interviewed his wife, Kim Ang. I also interviewed his partner, Kim Ang, for my talk show, The Secrets of Qigong Masters. So I have a pretty good idea about what they do in regard to healing, in regard to releasing pain body. And the main approach is to become present. Now, not running away from pain, not putting a label on it That's a bad thing. It's a problem that always happens to me, and creating a story about it. If you create a story about your pain, which you've probably done unconsciously already, you essentially add insult to injury. Then the story goes pretty much like this. Why does this shit happen to me? I am not a bad person, but I'm experiencing this terrible pain all the time or repetitively, and I try to fix it. I go to doctors and therapists and healers of all kinds of ilk, and nobody can help me. It seems like I'm stuck in this pain and suffering. Now let's take apart pain from suffering, because pain is a physiological feedback mechanism. The body is communicating with the central nervous system saying, hey, pay attention to this issue, to this part of the body that is compromised or that's injured or that's not functioning properly. In other words, without this type of feedback mechanism, we wouldn't be able to pay attention to the part of the body that needs attention. Why does it need attention? Because it needs energy. Energy, as we know, is the life force that enables the cells of the body to duplicate, to heal themselves, to mend broken bones or mend injured tissues, heal injured tissues. The life force is essentially what enables the body to heal itself. And where attention goes, energy flows. So attention is not only information exchange, it's also an energy exchange. And where you pay attention, you actually bring more of the life force within yourself or without. Just to give you an example, for instance, if you have a plant, let's say a house plant, and you pay no attention to that plant, how happy will that plant be? It probably won't be thriving for very long. Or for instance, if you have a pet, let's say a dog or a parrot or whatever, and you don't pay any attention to your pet, will that pet thrive? Probably not. Or if you have a child, or if you have a partner, and you don't pay any attention to them, will they thrive? Or how well will your relationship thrive? Probably it won't. What does it mean? It means that attention provides energy. It empowers the relationship. It empowers the pet. It empowers the part of your body that is asking for attention. Obviously, if it is disempowered, compromised, or blocked, it is not feeling healthy. And as a result of that, it doesn't feel healthy. It feels compromised or disempowered. And it needs energy in order to experience more empowerment and facilitate self-healing. So how do you bring energy to it? Well, I will share with you 4 major ways to do that today. Now, what is suffering? It's, like I said, the story that you create in your mind. And if you need to suffer, go ahead and create a story. I don't want to rob you of the opportunity to suffer. Why? Because suffering is essential for personal development. I've never heard of anyone who would achieve any degree of personal enlightenment or spiritual awakening or enlightenment without having gone through a significant amount of suffering. Have you? If you know that suffering is essential for spiritual and personal development, it doesn't mean that you want to experience it. Most people would rather stay away from suffering. Nobody wants to suffer, but everybody does. What a paradox. It simply means that we don't always do that which we think is best for us. Why? Well, in a sense, we do that what we need rather than what we want. We often create more suffering for ourselves because we actually need the suffering, even though nobody wants it. Why do we need suffering? Because that leads to greater personal development and spiritual awakening. It's like if you are in a dream and this dream is more like a nightmare. In other words, you are struggling and you're suffering in your dream. It's more likely that you will be able to awaken in the dream and become lucid and realize that you are dreaming it up. Nobody's doing it to you. You are actually doing it to yourself completely unconsciously. Now, that is the type of breakthrough that leads to spiritual awakening. Now, if you don't care about personal development and you don't care about spiritual awakening or enlightenment, then of course you want to get rid of suffering and stay away from it as much as possible, which is totally understandable, and I am not going to judge you. I'm going to help you eliminate suffering as well as physical pain. That's right. I know how to stop suffering, and I will be happy to help you develop the skill set that will not only quit suffering, but also will enable you to adjust the level of suffering to the degree that actually is most appropriate for you, so that you can still a little bit of it in order to facilitate personal development, but not too much so that you don't overwhelm yourself with suffering and grief. I'm talking about finding the balance between too much suffering and too little suffering. That's right. It sounds ridiculous, right? We actually are going to find the way to adjust the level of our suffering to the appropriate level so that we are not complacent and at the same time not too overwhelmed. That's what we call finding the flow. The flow is the state of consciousness that happens when you find that balance between too much struggle and suffering and too little of it. Basically finding the edge of your comfort zone and operating on the edge, exploring the edge, finding out how you can maintain that level of slight discomfort, but not turning it into major grief. Operating in the flow, being in the flow, is also the nickname of my art called Qidao. I wrote a book called The Art of Being in Flow, and I will be happy to share with you some of the aspects of my art with you today as well. Since I promised to share with you the 4 main ways of bringing attention and thereby energy to the areas that are afflicted or injured or suffering from chronic pain, let's start with something that is most simple, the simplest, and at the same time very effective way of bringing attention to the part of the body that hurts. Most people do it completely unconscious, especially children who are less inhibited than adults usually. What do we do when something hurts? We touch this part of the body. Wow, there is some owie. This part of the body hurts. It needs some attention. Where attention goes, energy flows. The touch actually brings energy to the part of the body that is hurting. For example, imagine a child running around and falling. If the mother comes over to pick her up, she's not just going to neglect the owie or, for example, scraped knee. She's actually going to touch it or bruised knee. She's not going to just neglect the bruise. She's probably going to touch it or maybe kiss it or make it feel a little better. The touch is an excellent way to bring energy to the part of the body that has been injured or afflicted. Why? Because whenever you touch the surface of the body, for example, where there's tension, there's going to be a response. The body, in a sense, feels like, oh, yeah, the energy, oh, yeah, attention is being given to me. And it starts responding by moving. And usually it moves first away from touch. But then it may feel like, oh, touch is actually not bad. I can move towards or push against the touch, essentially increasing the pressure. When the pressure is being increased, of course, it may lead to reaching the edge of the comfort zone in terms of the degree of pressure. And when you reach the edge of the comfort zone, you will feel uncomfortable, or you will start feeling like, wow, this is a little bit too much pressure. So what do? You start retreating again. And so this movement towards and away from pressure is what most people do. But that's not what we're going to do. We are going to learn how to connect with the part of the body that needs touch. Connect with a specific point or pressure point or specific area of the body that is the most sensitive to touch. And then apply the right amount of pressure on that point or on that area so that it would receive just the right amount of pressure and thereby energy. And when there is a reasonable, and when there is an adequate amount of pressure applied to the tense area or the area of injury, then there's going to be some degree of response. So the muscle that is tense actually is going to tense up more when it's being pressed upon. And we want it to tense up more just to the right degree. So how do we make sure that we're applying pressure at the right point and in the right direction? Well, first we need to palpate. And when you palpate, you discover how we'll go a lot deeper into the exploration of touch. I often refer to it as the magic of touch. In our program that I'm going to invite you to join, that I'm going to offer to you in just a minute or two. In just a minute. The second very important way of, very effective way of bringing attention to the part of the body that is injured or afflicted is through passive movement. The passive movement happens when you move the part of the body in a way that shortens the muscle. Now, the second very effective way to bring attention to the afflicted or injured area and facilitate release of tension, which leads to release of pain, which leads to pain relief, is through active shortening of the muscles. That's right. When the muscle is holding tension chronically, it's not something you do consciously. You do it completely unconsciously. You are not trying to hold the tension. It's just simply this unconscious mind is sending signals to the body to contract this muscle. But it's your parasympathetic system sending the signals of contraction to the muscles completely unconsciously. In fact, you wouldn't be able to hold the tension consciously if you wanted to for very long, because you will get really tired of doing that. You are welcome to experiment. If you have any area of tension or discomfort or pain, you can simply contract associated with chronic tension. you can contract the muscle in that part of the body that's responsible for that tension. And hold it, and hold tension in it for a minute or two. For a minute or two, or until you feel like you're really sick and tired of holding it. Usually it takes about a minute and a half, or 90 seconds, for the central nervous system to really get tired. But if you've been holding this tension for longer, it may take a bit longer for you to also release this tension or become ready to let it go. What happens when you hold tension consciously? You realize how much effort, how much energy it takes to do so, and also how much energy blockage the tension creates. And if it leads to pain, obviously you will also connect the dots between cause and effect, meaning that you will realize that this pain is something that you are doing to yourself. Just like suffering we were talking about, that also is usually the result of our own retelling of our story and then adding insult to injury. Well, we actually cause injury, we actually keep injuring ourselves more and more as we unconsciously hold the tension that causes chronic pain. So what do we do when we hold tension when we hold tension consciously? We pay attention to how it feels. We don't want to overdo this, so we don't want to create a spasm in the muscle or push ourselves over the edge of the comfort zone. But you may already be close to the edge or even slightly outside the edge. So I don't want you to spend any more time than necessary holding the tension. Whenever you're ready to let it go, slowly start reducing the tension. Drop it halfway down and feel what it feels like if you hold it only half as much tension as you did first. Then drop it halfway down again. So now you hold only a quarter as much tension. And feel how that feels. Now drop it down a bit further. Maybe you can feel what it's like to hold only 1/8 of the initial tension. And then drop it further down, maybe down to 1/16 of your initial tension. And maybe even further, down to 1/32 of your initial tension. In other words, you are reducing the tension gradually, stair-stepping, to the point where you feel like there's no discernible tension in your muscle. There's a little bit of muscle tone, so it's not completely limp. The muscle maintaining maybe just 1 or 2 or 3% of its full capacity tension. Its tension if it operates at full capacity. That means you are learning how to become thoroughly relaxed. If you do this more than once, if you repeat this cycle of contraction and relaxation more than once, you will notice how you become more relaxed after this repetition than you were before. If you repeat this cycle several times, you will actually discover how further into relaxation you get, how you can get further relaxed after the second or third repetition of this cycle. Well, that means that you are developing the skill of conscious release of tension. As a matter of fact, there is no signal of relaxation that your central nervous system can send to your muscles. So you have to stop sending signals of contraction. It's essentially the function of non-doing rather than doing more. If you learn how to do less tension, that's going to lead to being able to release tension consciously. Well, that's exactly what you want to achieve if you want to release pain or relieve your pain. Because most pain is caused by undue tension and or misalignment of the body caused by undue tension. The third method of releasing tension and reducing pain is very similar to the second one, except instead of active contraction of the afflicted or conscious contraction of the muscles that cause pain and discomfort, you actually are going to passively shorten them. So for example, if the muscle that's responsible for lifting of the arm in front of you, called anterior deltoid, hurts, then you can passively lift the arm in the same direction, following the same trajectory of movement, but without contracting that muscle. It does have a different effect. It leads to a similar effect, even though a different pathway. In a sense, it's like you help the part of the body manifest its dream. The muscle is trying to lift the arm consciously. Chronic tension in the muscle means it's trying to lift the arm in this direction. And apparently it's either failing or it's weak. And so it hasn't been able to achieve what it's trying to achieve. If you help this arm come up using the other arm, or maybe using a wall or some other help, or help from some other object, it's like helping this muscle achieve what it's been trying to achieve for years. So it will communicate to the central nervous system. Something happened. Someone came along and helped me achieve what I've been trying to achieve for a long time, maybe for months or maybe even years. So I don't need the signals of contraction anymore. The mission's success. So the central nervous system will eventually stop sending signals of contraction because they're no longer needed. That will lead to release of tension in that muscle. If that muscle doesn't receive signals of contraction, what is it going to do? It's going to start relaxing. As it starts relaxing, you most likely will experience a relaxation not only in this muscle in question, but throughout your body. That's right. Central nervous system actually will become less agitated, and it will stop sending so many signals of contraction to other muscles throughout your body, including the breathing muscle, your diaphragm, as a result of which you will experience a change in your breathing pattern, most likely your breathing becoming deeper and smoother. Often people experience a sigh of relief or a yawn, which is another perfectly natural form of release of tension. When you experience that sigh of relief or start yawning, that's the indication that you are relaxing, and that's when you start bringing that part of the body down, bring the arm down, so that it can relax and lengthen the muscles. So if we shorten the muscle first, now we're allowing it to lengthen. And as you're lengthening the muscle, it becomes longer. Who wouldn't want to belong? This part of the body now is integrated. It belongs to the rest of the organism better. The other shoulder, by the way, now is envious. It says, hey, what am I, chopped liver? I want to experience this relaxation too. So fine, I'm going to help it out just as well. It's very important that you maintain some degree of balance between the right and left sides of your body, because if there is imbalance, there's going to be misalignment. Where there is misalignment, there's going to be tension and pain. We will actually look at the reasons why most people are crooked in our upcoming program. And you will discover for yourself that it has a lot to do with your relationship with time, with the flow of time. So Eckhart Tolle wasn't wrong. He was on the right track. But being present is not all. There is much more to it. If being completely in the present moment was the cure to everything, then people with dementia would be the healthiest among us. But we know that's not the case. The fourth, also very helpful principle of releasing tension and pain can be applied when the part of the body is either injured to the degree that you don't want to move it, or you have an open wound as a result of abrasion or burn or cut. In that case, you don't want to poke that afflicted part of the body just because you will cause too much discomfort and pain, or may even introduce some pathogens to it. Bugs, microbes. Instead of moving this part of the body or compressing it or pushing it or tensing it up, what we will be able to do is simply to imagine that you can breathe through this part of the body. That's right. You know, imagination is it has amazing power. The power of imagination is such that it can heal or it can kill. And in our program, we'll be focusing on the healing component of imagination. How can you imagine being able to breathe through a part of the body? Well, you're breathing through your nose, or mouth, or both, so you're already breathing through some part of your body. But the nose is not the only part of the body animals can breathe through. For example, dolphins and whales have blowhole in the back of their head, or even the back of their neck. Somehow, they manage to breathe through a different part of the body other than the nose. Would you be able to imagine that you have a blowhole in the back of your head or any part of the body that is in need of energy? If you imagine being able to breathe through whatever part of the body needs attention, that also will bring significant amount of energy to it. For instance, if you imagine that your arm has been injured and you have it in a sling, so you don't want to move it too much. Well, you can still imagine being able to breathe through this arm as if it's a snorkel, as if it's hollow inside, and you can breathe through it. And as you do so, you can also play with a variety of different additional elements of imagination. For example, you can play with the color of energy that you're bringing to this part of the body. You may also exhale any energies you no longer need that may be obstructing the process of healing. When you inhale, bring a fresh and vital energy, more fresh and vital energy into your body. That obviously is a pure figment of imagination, except it really works. And you will be welcome to discover for yourself how well it works when I guide you through a very specific set of meditation, and self-hypnosis practices that are also included in our program. I've been talking about this program, I've been mentioning this upcoming program several times today, and I want to give you a little bit of a heads up about it so that you can take full advantage of this program becoming available as soon so that you can heal what ails you, or your pain, and reduce suffering. And manage your suffering, manage your stress and suffering. This program is going to consist of 4 main modules, each of which will be dedicated to each of the methods that I briefly mentioned today. Trust me, there is a lot more to each of those methods than what I have shared in this short video. In order to dive deeper into them, I will also walk you by the hand through specific practices that start from simple and go to more complex. And also, you will be discovering for yourself certain ways to improve upon your skills that you will be building by doing those practices. By the end of the program, you will have more knowledge about healing your own pain body than anyone else in the world, except for people who've already studied with me one-on-one, and except for my coaching clients and apprentices, who normally pay $2,000 every 3 months, who normally pay $2,000 every 3 months to study with me. Instead of charging you $2,000 for this program, for this 3-month-long program, and many of them study with me and many of them stick with me for years. Instead of charging you $2,000 for this 3-month-long program, would $2,000 be a reasonable, would letting go of your chronic pain be worth investing $2,000 into a program like this for you? I bet it would be, but I'm not even going to charge you $2,000. As a matter of fact, I'm not even going to charge you $1,000 because I really want to help you and to build a community of people who are advanced self-healers so that they can also start helping other people around them in their families, in their communities, in their countries. I want to offer it to you for a fraction of my regular rate that I charge my coaching clients. So if you register for this program today, it will be only $497 to go through the entire 3-month-long program and receive my group coaching together with other people enrolled in our program from all walks of life, from 5 different continents, from all over the world. You will be able to ask specific questions. Every week we'll have a group coaching call. Every other week we'll have a group coaching call during which you will be welcome to every other week I will be providing you new materials that you will be able to apply, that will teach you how to apply those practices, that will teach you the most effective principles of self-healing and how to apply the practices based on those principles to heal your chronic pain. On alternating weeks, every other week, we'll also have a group coaching call, a group coaching session, during which you'll be able to share your experiences, ask any questions you may have about applying these practices specifically to, in your case, to your conditions, and also discover how other people benefit from these practices, perhaps addressing other types of pain that you haven't even thought of. Even if you don't have the same pain as other people do in our program, just listening to them learning how to heal themselves, I guarantee you will learn a great deal more so that you will be able to help other people in the future who may suffer from similar type of pain. And the last but not the least, I will also provide you a number of additional, and if that's not enough, I will also offer you, and if that's not enough, I'll also offer you a ticket. And if that's not enough, I'll also offer you a couple of very essential bonuses, such as the online course on Qigong fundamentals. That's right. I created a course that addresses the fundamentals of Qigong practice, starting with the most basic things like how to stand in a Wuji stance, the type of stance that enables you to experience the least amount of tension and pain in your body. I'm standing right now, completely free of tension and pain. The way I'm standing is very specific, and you are going to learn it as well. It also will cover such practices as meditation and breathing, and even discovering how to harmonize polarizing opinions or perspectives in your own consciousness or around you, so that you would actually wage peace within yourself and enjoy the inner peace, so that you would be able to enjoy the inner peace in your unconsciousness and your relationships. The second essential bonus that I also want to offer to you is Tai Chi fundamentals. Another online course that will walk you through the process of understanding and exploring and understanding the fundamental principles of the art of Tai Chi. That is the sister art of Qigong, but it also has a martial art component that includes being able to project energy through your hands or deal with energy projections coming at you. We will look at Tai Chi stances, or stances that people use in other martial arts, and discover what works and what doesn't work in regard to those stances. We'll also look at the ways to project energy as well as deal with energy projections in the most effective and elegant way that is what I call a harmonious culture of movement. That's right. I coined this term, harmonious culture of movement, that can be found. It's the type of movement, it's the culture of movement of those people who move in a harmonious manner, such as Tai Chi masters. If you know how to move in that manner, you don't just limit the practice of harmonious culture movement to the time when you are doing your Tai Chi forms. As a matter of fact, I will not teach you any forms. I'll teach you the principles and their applications so that you can develop the harmonious culture movement for yourself, which will allow you to enjoy being in a harmonious way, because you are the way you move. If you practice any type of meditation, it's relatively easy to get into a relatively harmonious state of consciousness. Unfortunately, most people who, when they finish meditating and get off the cushion, start moving in a disharmonious manner, which of course does not support harmonious state of consciousness, so they backslide back in a less harmonious or disharmonious way of being. If you want to experience greater harmony in your life, it would stand to reason that you need to learn both how to achieve a more harmonious state of mind and also practice a harmonious culture and movement that would support that harmonious state of consciousness and help you develop a harmonious way of being. That's exactly what this course on Tai Chi Fundamentals will walk you through. If that's not enough, I'll offer you another online course that I also charge $200 for, called Abundance Through Being in the Flow. I've actually presented this course as a part of the online summit called the Summit of Qigong Masters, in which I interviewed a dozen of different masters of Qigong and asked them all about their opinions or their perspectives on abundance and how to manifest it in our lives. We're not talking about just abundance of money, although that's an important aspect of being abundant, but we're also talking about abundance of energy, and abundance of love, and abundance of healthy relationships, and other things that we really value in our lives. What do you value? What would you like to experience more abundance of in your life? When you take this course, you'll discover for yourself how to achieve that with elegance and precision. And this course, just like the other courses on Tai Chi Fundamentals and Qigong Fundamentals, will be offered to you at no extra charge, just as a bonus for enrolling in our group coaching program dedicated to pain body healing. Now, I know that not everybody who watches this video is going to jump into this program and enroll on the spot. So if you have any questions or any comments or any specific issues that you want some individual help with, I would be happy to talk to you, and I will not charge you $250 that I normally charge for an hour of my coaching. Just for watching this webinar, I want to offer it to you for free. That's right. First 50 people, first 20 people who watch this webinar, since my time is limited, I can only do it with 15 to 20 people who sign up first. So please use the button below this video to register to sign up for the one-on-one coaching session with me, during which I will walk you step by step through understanding of most optimal way to benefit from my knowledge and expertise as it would apply to your specific situation or issues that you want to resolve. And during that phone call and during that session, I will also explain to you in greater detail how you'll be able to benefit from working with me, and offer you an opportunity to enroll in this group coaching program or a live event that I'm also offering in January. So you may actually choose whether to enroll in this program or to enroll in this live event. As a matter of fact, if you enroll in this program, I'll give you a tremendous discount on the ticket to my live event in January if all the bonuses weren't enough to justify. So click the link below this video to register to schedule your coaching session with me today. As I said, I only have so much time. So the first 20 people who schedule this appointment, so I have to limit my availability to the first 20 people who take me up on this offer. I look forward to speaking to you very soon and helping you release your chronic tensions and relieve your pain and suffering. Namaste.